My aim is to take Brighton to glory, doing it the Brighton way. I've been a huge fan of how they manage to sign fantastic players, sell them for profit, and already have a better replacement signed for a fraction of the price, all while still being competitive in the richest league in the world. So I made myself manager of the Seagulls, and look at my moustache, with the expectations of finishing mid-table and finishing higher than Crystal Palace. That should be easy.
Looking forward to it.
Thankfully, it is still Patrick Vieira in charge though, no Roy Hodgson. Brighton have a transfer budget, by the way, of £70 million, which I definitely forgot about when I wanted to do this save.
I don't believe you.
Before we spend that, I need to introduce myself to my current team, who are buzzing at finishing mid-table and are running the FA Cup. Easily pleased this lot. Speaking of which, let's see some of our key players. Moises Caicedo is a fantastic young midfielder who can hold the CDM slot with no problem. Of course, World Cup winner McAllister is a man we need to build the team around, as is 17-year-old Evan Ferguson, who needs game time from the off. And Matoma is a player who can win you a game when all looks lost. Those four players plus Robert Sanchez in goal, I'm looking to play a shape and style almost like this 4-3-3 with wide defensive wingers and inverted wingbacks, using Matoma more centrally in a Trecatista role. Dunk is our best centre-back, but we really need some big improvements going forward. So just like Brighton would do, we smartly signed Michael Edwards as Director of Football, formerly Liverpool's Director of Football, who was responsible for bringing in players like Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah, as well as selling Coutinho for huge profits. So I asked him straight away, Michael, give me 3 player options we could sign at centre-back, and he came back with Tyrone Mings. So instead, I negotiated a deal with Zagreb for Josip Šatalo. The 22-year-old Croatian centre-back already looks fantastic and would be a great addition to our backline with his ball-carrying skills and composure. However, with the nature of the defensive wingers, it's better to put centre defensive midfielders there, so I asked Michael to help me once again, but the youngest option he presented was Tapia from Peru. But for me, Thuram from Nice is a better option and much younger. Michael's been pretty useless so far. I'm signing my own recommendations instead. Thuram is in the door for £21 million. And following him was Alex Scott from Bristol City, a midfielder who has been chased by my rival, so I got the deal done early. The deal for Thuram actually set a transfer record for Brighton, and it made me think. That's the last time I'm going to break the transfer record this series. £20 million is what I'm going to limit myself for signing a player from now on. Although Šatalo may also reach £21.5 million with add-ons, but from now on, I will not exceed £20 million. Injury hit as starting left-back Estupinian tore muscles and is out for a few months. So I gave my mate Michael a knock-knock to see if he knows any cheap options at left-back. But no, they're all either above the age target or above £20 million like Parisi. But after a 10-second search, I found 2 cheap options. The first unfortunately wouldn't get a work permit from Peru, but the second from Sociedad would, and he's cheap as chips, and I managed to get a deal accepted for less than £5 million. Our star man is now injured though in another friendly match, right before our first match of the league campaign against Liverpool, and it's a Monday night game under the lights at Anfield. And it also wasn't the dream start I anticipated. I mean, Luis Diaz scored within 13 minutes, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold made it 2 from a direct free kick. We did score 1 goal, and it was a rather impressive one at that, but we did lose 7-1.
Sorry, what?
On the same points as Man City though, and I swear I seen Michael cheer when Liverpool scored the little snake. And if you think Michael is a little rat and you haven't subscribed yet, then please hit that red subscribe button, because these will be out once or twice a week and you don't want to miss out.
You really like the dark, don't you, Michael?
We got our first win in the following match with Evan Ferguson scoring the opener, and he continued to score more goals. Not just any goals either, absolute worldies. And by the end of the month against Arsenal, the lads were understanding their roles in this tactic more, and we looked the better team up until Bukayo Saka smashed in an equaliser. But Evan Ferguson is one of the best up-and-coming strikers in European football right now, and he bangs in his 4th and the winner in the 88th minute. And we're in the dizzy heights of 4th place.
Get in!
Window closed, and I think we did rather well off the pitch too. A draw to Leeds came next, but back-to-back braces for Ferguson and 3-0 wins for Brighton. A tough match against Spurs, and Pedro Porro bangs in a free kick. We must busted up an equaliser though, but it stayed 1-1. And another tough loss to City and Haaland next too. Then it was all down to Evan Ferguson, because he just continually kept scoring goals, and they were all decent goals too, not something you'd expect from a 17-year-old with not a lot of experience. It's like when Rooney burst onto the scene and people were checking his passport as he seemed way older than he was. During this period, we even beat our rivals Palace at home thanks to Alex Scott's 90th minute winner. And then we welcomed Erik ten Hag's Manchester United, and we went out there and played our absolute butts off. Ferguson scored the opener and followed up with a cracking second. Veltman rose highest from a corner, and in the second half, Thuram dinked De Gea, and we rounded off a 4-0 win.
No, this is outrageous!
Bopping us up into the top 4. We had 3 games before the World Cup break, and Everton became the next victims of our fantastic run when we beat them 2-0. And then Ferguson put 4 past Spurs in the EFL Cup, and then 3 past Villa in the league. And yet, just like that, we are trailing Man City in the league. Ferguson is trailing Haaland in the Golden Boot race with 18 goals in just 16 games. A reminder that he's only just turned 18. It may have only been in the Cup, but we've come a long way after losing to Liverpool 7-1 when we beat them 1-0 at Anfield. But after a couple more league wins, we are keeping our position in second place through the new year. After a great result against Brighton's former manager Graham Potter and his Chelsea side at Stamford Bridge, it was 2 successful cup ties, including a quarter-final against Middlesbrough, and on to a fantastic league win against West Ham, starting with a banger from Caicedo. Another 2 goals followed, and both of them weren't bad either, and all 3 goals came within the first 13 minutes of the match. And this is the start of a bad patch. We somehow lose 6-1 to Norwich in the first leg of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, followed by an FA Cup draw to Middlesbrough, who we stuffed 3 weeks ago 3-0. Mitoma scored 2 fantastic goals from his Trecatista role in a 4-0 win in the second leg against Norwich, but we still find ourselves eliminated 6-5. And we welcome top of the league Man City next, and Erling Haaland says hello 8 minutes in. But we are fighting for top 4 this year, and we give as good as we got, and before you know it, after McAllister's first, Mitoma is putting in a second to take the lead. And man of the match, Thuram banged in a third, and suddenly eyes were opening wide. Phil Foden did score a second for City, but we leave the Amex as 3-2 winners. And great results followed in February with wins in the FA Cup replay and against both Tottenham away and Chelsea at home. And yes, that is Brighton sat in second place at the beginning of March. We then took Manchester United penalties, where we scored our 5th penalty and Civic Mansberg missed theirs, and we are through. And then we faced Fulham in the quarterfinals and lost. And after a loss to Liverpool in the league, it's just the one competition we have left, and we are still fighting for Champions League football next year. And then we went on this awful run through April, back with a bang, beating Man United 1-0 at Old Trafford though, straight into a loss against bottom of the league. But it was Derby Day at Selhurst Park, and Evan Ferguson, our talisman, scores the opener. Second half, and Solly March bags a second, and the Brighton away end must be going mental. We did unfortunately give Palace some hope when Eze scored just 20 minutes remaining, but we managed to hold on. City are running away with the league, and we're second unlikely with the games in hand for Liverpool, but it's still in our hands for top 4. We took advantage through Shatalo at St James's Park, but Veltman went and got himself a straight red card with just 27 minutes in, and that was the turning point of the match. Newcastle then soon after equalised, and although we held on to the 70th minute, we unfortunately fell behind thanks to a dunk on goal, and Newcastle went on to win 4-1. We bounced back with a 2-0 win against Bournemouth thanks to an outrageous header by Ferguson, who scored his final 2 goals of an incredible debut campaign for us in our penultimate match against Leeds in a 3-1 victory. Our final game of the season, however, is against Arsenal, and a loss could see us drop out of the top 4. The nerves were at an all-time high, but Mitoma scored a rocket to put Brighton ahead just 13 minutes into the match, but with a fantastic movement, Arsenal's attack found Saka on the stroke of half-time to go in 1 apiece. And would you believe it, we held on all the way until the 90th minute before Eddie Nketiah scored a winner. But the team to capitalise on our loss also lost to West Ham. And Chelsea, who could have gone above us, also drew with Bournemouth, meaning we actually finish in 3rd place still. And we celebrate Champions League football next season, and Evan Ferguson, although being 15 goals behind Erling Haaland, still scored 31 this season. Some of the top performers were the players I highlighted at the start of the campaign, but we've got a job on our hands to recruit for next season. Speaking of which, here's Michael, the absolute fraud. You've got about £50 million to help me next year, buddy. So let's try this again, shall we? Let's search for a future centre-back who's good on the ball. Another player called Shatalo, I bet that took you a while to think of. Perez isn't a bad shout though, and then Tyrone Mings again.
Oh no, not again.